30,000 paying customers.
Never seen anything like that before.
AI is changing the world.
I'm going to be bold and I'm going to say you cannot transition from developer to DevOps.
Oh.
Laravel is one of the first frameworks to use PHP 5.3.
Exactly.
Awful feeling.
We will have to
I'm
go
really
from-
excited.
Yeah,
This is the
throwing a
first
bit of
time I'm
advice.
going.
Yeah, welcome guests for this amazing Laravel India podcast. How you are feeling about this podcast?
Good morning, Sarthak. I'm excited actually. Sounds like a good podcast to have, and I'm pretty excited to be part of the podcast series. Definitely.
Great. So we are going to have really fun today, and for next 1 hour, I'm going to hit you with a lot of amazing questions. But that's going to be fun. I'm definitely sure. So I just want to get started with knowing you more. So I have met you many times in Laracon India, Laracon US, and it was really nice experience whenever I see you there. But for the audience, can you tell us about you, what you do right now, what was your experience, and where are you from?
Okay, so let's start with the beginning. I'm from the Netherlands actually,
Cool.
but living in Ireland at the moment. As you can see, very Christmassy with my Christmas top and everything. So what I do at the moment is I'm actually currently employed by Dell Technologies as a technical advisor on storage arrays and as a project manager. But I'd love to go back into the Laravel ecosystem and get a job there. So I left Laravel Holdings in October this year. Simply because the corporate structure wasn't for me. I'm more of a startup kind of guy. I like the small teams where you can pretty much, you have your job, but you can venture outside of that job and help others with bits and pieces, and
Yeah.
you feel more part of an integrated team. Whereas in the new holding, it was more of a segregated team structure, and I didn't particularly like that. So we made a decision to let my freelance contract run out as it was and not go for a new contract in the holding. Sad, really, because I would have loved to stay on with Laravel, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's really nice to know. And obviously, we will love to see you back on the Laravel team and doing a lot of Laravel stuffs. But we are still happy that you will be joining Laracon next year.
Yeah, I will. I bought myself a ticket to attend, definitely.
Wow, that's so amazing, so amazing. Let's move forward with this Laracon India journey. So, apart from Laracon India, what you know about India and what's your experience?
What I knew about India dates back to maybe 25 years ago when I was a teenager, and my
Wow.
math student introduced me to Zen Buddhism. Now, Zen Buddhism is obviously a Japanese kind of influenced form of Buddhism,
Yeah.
but my teacher went to India, specifically into the Himalayas, and joined a few temples during celibacy years. And he brought back lots of stories from those temples and the swamis that he met there, etc., etc. India is kind of like a religious center for Buddhism people,
Exactly.
but that's about it.
Wow. That's great. It's really nice to know that you are actually connected from India for like from 25 years ago. That's a really great thing to know. And what's your experience about Laracon India?
Well, when I came to India in March to join Laravel in Udaipur, I spent a week or two in Delhi.
Oh, great.
And I went to see all the historical places in Delhi. I went the Taj Mahal, obviously, as well.
Superb.
And it was a real eye-opener because obviously you kind of know about the caste system that
Yeah.
used to be in India. But other than that, the Western culture is very much, or the knowledge in the Western culture about India is very much inspired by the British Empire.
Exactly.
And we don't really know what happened in India. other than from the Victorian times onwards. And so when I heard about the Mughal dynasty and them marrying into the family the royal family of Udaipur to make a bigger sort of impact in India, and
Yes.
all that sort of historical cultural background that is there in India, the marriage between Muslim and Hinduism,
Exactly.
Sikh religions and all that sort of stuff. It is such an eye opener for me. I mean, I went on one of the days, I went to the main Sikh temple in Delhi, and the host was telling me that people, random people, anybody could just sit down and have lunch
Yeah,
with
exactly.
anybody. You don't
Anybody?
know who you're sitting next to. It could be the big CEO of some company,
Come.
could be a beggar. It doesn't matter to them. They all sit there and enjoy their food and
Yeah.
have a chat and whatever. And that to me is so eye-opening, so welcoming to all sorts of people. I haven't seen that in the West at all. And that is really what I'm longing for
Yeah.
in terms of people being open and friendly to each other.
Yeah.
So that was a big eye opener. And then Laracon India itself in Udaipur was pretty amazing. Not gonna lie. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
we
was.
did a bit of a trip on the lake the day before the conference,
Yeah.
and we did that actually on purpose to see the sunset over the lake.
Hmm.
By the time the sun set, only Freek and I were actually looking at the sunset. The rest was already going off to the speakers' dinner. So they all missed the
Okay.
sunset. And Freek and Nick were just standing there for like 3, 4 minutes and taking
Okay.
pictures like nothing else. And it was so stunning.
Wow.
The the bright orange glow in the sky across the
Hmm.
whole sky was just
Yeah.
something else. Never seen anything like that before. And then the conference itself, yeah, was a bit of an event, all right.
Hmm.
My first time talking on stage,
Yeah.
wasn't nervous at all because I don't really care what anybody thinks about me. I just do my thing.
With this, I have one question. I remember last this March, Udaipur Laracon India. You were initially wearing blue t-shirt, and then you were saying, "Hey, this is red," and oh, it's not. Then just change it on the stage. Is what it was planned, or it was just intentional, or it just on the spot happened?
It was planned because it was indicated that everybody should wear red on the first day. But since I'm slightly colorblind,
Oh, I didn't know that.
as visitors from Laracon EU in Amsterdam in February before should have known, I'm slightly colorblind.
Okay, okay.
And so I basically put in a practical joke about my colorblindness.
Hmm. Okay, so but that was a crazy moment. I was like, oh, what guess doing? It was fun, and I believe these kind of small I can say funny moment or simple just out of the box things connect you with the audience directly, instantaneously, and it was. After that, your talk was like, "Whoa, this person is doing something great." Wow, that was nice. So, with this, like, since you said like you were partially colorblind, what theme you use? Is it light or dark?
Well, I can't necessarily see shades of color.
Okay.
Like, for example, if you show me an odd color of red
Okay.
that is not vibrantly red,
Mm-hmm.
I see it as green.
Oh.
So for me, when I have like in project management, right, we have all sorts of rag statuses, which is red, amber, green.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I just see one project that is red, I don't know whether it's red or
Where is
green.
red? Where is
I
red?
have to compare it to all the other ones that I know are green to see
Uh,
there's a difference in color to understand that it is actually red rather than
wow.
green.
Oh,
I
that's.
have the same problem with yellow and orange.
Mm.
Give me an orange bell pepper on its
Mm-hmm.
own, and tell me it's yellow, I believe you. But if you give me a yellow and an orange bell pepper, I can see the difference. But on its own, I have no idea what it is.
Okay. That's
So
a strange thing.
it's a bit tricky.
Bit tricky.
That's why I'm not in the UI development.
That's a good point. Otherwise, you should have created something with only two or three colors, which you see.
Exactly.
Okay. So moving from this Laracon and Laravel things, uh, how you are more into the spirituality, because my team found that you love reading books, especially about the spirituality. The book, especially you mentioned in Twitter about what was that book? The autobiography of Yogi, which I already have. That's upside there. It's a really interesting book, which tells you about how yogis have the, I can say, supernatural power, and they can get that power with lots and lots of practices, and the spirituality practices, I must say. What's your journey about this spirituality, yoga, meditation things?
So, like I said, right, my math teacher, when I was 15, he introduced me to Buddhism. We went on a school camp for a week to the south of the Netherlands, where we visited all sorts of dojos and one or two Buddhist temples. And I really was interested in it because in that first week, I experienced my first out of body journey,
No.
which is something quite amazing. You're sitting on a pillow, and when you transcend, you can feel that your balance is wavering, but you
Oh.
know your body is sitting still.
Oh, really?
But you, at the same time, you know you're sitting still, and you feel that your balance is shaky.
Uh-huh.
And then you can see that you're sitting still
Mm-hmm.
from above. And so I kind of, and that kind of, intrigued me a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
we went into subconscious meditation that week as well, where we tried to understand one of our personal fears
Wow.
by simply asking yes or no questions of our subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And from that moment on, I understood why I was afraid of spiders. And I
Oh.
was able to address that. And now I don't care about being afraid of spiders. I love them.
That's another question my team put on the list, is like, you have lots of spider pictures in your Instagram and Twitter. Now I know what's the reason behind it.
I do, but that is where it comes from because I really, these animals don't bother me anymore. They used
Wow.
to bother me. I was like screamingly afraid of them, but they don't bother me anymore simply because I got that knowledge on how to change your subconsciousness. And, your subconsciousness kind of determines your instinct, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you're panicking, that basically means there's some fear in there.
Hmm.
For whatever reason, that fear exists, but you can alter it by training your subconscious to not be afraid and to
Hmm.
let go of the fear. And that comes with the meditation as well, to just, I would say, as Guru Dev says, to just open your hands
Hmm.
and let everything go that you hold on so tightly, like a fear. Just
Right.
open your hands and let go.
Right.
And so that was my first week of Buddhism, and I kept meditating after that until I left college and went to university. Then it sort of disappeared from me for a good while. And in 2013, I started working for IBM, and I met this wonderful person, Jalak Agarwal,
Okay.
and she was doing a meditation, half an hour, 45 minutes every, I believe, Monday or Tuesday
Okay.
on site for our team. And so I joined that because I was like, oh yeah, meditation. Yeah, yeah, I used to do that. Let's go. Right. And we connected over that and we did a bit more of meditations and so forth. And then she went back to India because she was on an internship or whatever.
Hmm.
And we kind of kept in touch. But again, that was only a short stint of reconnecting with meditation. And then last year, November, my plans around India became concrete. And I told her,
Uh-huh.
and she said, oh, then we have to celebrate this with an Art of Living Happiness program for
Wow.
you.
Great.
So I joined the Art of Living Happiness program, and ever since I've been meditating.
Wow.
So that's now a year almost.
Great, great. So
And
how long you do the meditation daily?
daily, I have certainly 1 hour of meditation in the morning, straight after yoga class. And
Absolutely
sometimes
great.
when it's like really busy and my head is,
Hmm.
blowing up with all sorts of stuff, I meditate for another half an hour during lunchtime.
Great. So what I have learned about the meditation is like every different guru said the technique of meditation differently. So for me, what I realize is like when you just close your eyes and just focus on your breath, is going out, is going in. That's how you do meditation, and whatever coming in your mind, don't just touch, don't feel good, don't feel bad, just see and let it go. Is it you do also, or you do something differently?
That is certainly one form of meditation and
Oh.
is certainly a very correct point of view. Now, what the art of living teaches you
Mm-hmm.
is a sort of breathing that kind of makes an internal noise. It's called Ujjayi breath, and you
Okay.
kind of make a noise by inhaling air and letting it flow over your vocal cords,
Hmm.
consciously letting it flow over your vocal cords.
Okay.
It kind of generates a sound as if you're underwater and breathing through one of them underwater tanks.
Okay.
And that basically stops your thoughts the
Nice.
same way as humming stops your thoughts because you
Uh-huh.
cannot think when you hum. And
Yeah.
that noise basically stops any thought from coming in. So it's very easy to jump into a meditative state using that technique.
Wait.
And he also has a second technique where you take long, deep breaths and
Mm-hmm.
then shorter breaths and then very short breaths.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of generates an energy in you that if you do that like 2 or 3 times in a row, you are absolutely ready to meditate. No question about it. It's a very interesting technique, very specific,
Mm-hmm.
but very easy for people to follow. And I've read in the groups that I'm involved in many good reviews of people who've done it a long time, 60 plus days,
Oh.
where they report that their anxiety levels have dropped, that they're more connected to their people around them, that they're
Mm-hmm.
more focused on their life and on their own spiritual journey and stuff like that. So it's really beneficial, um, to keep doing. And yeah, absolutely is to me,
Oh,
it's been
yeah.
such an amazing journey, especially combined with the yoga.
Great, so powerful. Yeah, I can relate with that, and I will love to talk more about this when we're going to meet in Lacon, India next year. But moving on to this podcast, that's so insightful. Um, let's move to the journey you had with Laravel Forge support. I'm really curious to know how you get that amazing opportunity, how Taylor found you, and how you started this Laravel Forge support thing. Because Laravel Forge is so amazing and great tool, and we have also created an alternative to Laravel Forge, and we are like we sometimes feel like yes, we need a person who can do the support, but right now we don't have that many customers, so yeah, we can handle it on our own, but sometimes it's going crazy. So tell me how you get into the Forge and your Forge support journey.
I've been using Forge probably since, I don't know for sure, 2019, 2020, a few years
Mm-hmm.
before I joined Laravel, anyways.
Okay.
So I knew the product and I knew what it could do and I knew how to, do things in the product and, difficult tricks like getting an SSL certificate and stuff like that. I knew all that from a user point of view.
Okay.
And I was a software developer at a little outfit in Manchester at the time. And we basically said at one point, my manager and I, we basically said at one point, look, it would actually be great if you could join Laravel at some point because you're really
Oh,
good at this server stuff.
superb.
And I said, yeah, that was kind of in January. Randomly, we said it
Uh,
because we saw the business drying up, and he
mm,
basically sort of pushed me to contact Taylor. And I
right.
was like, yeah, no, I'm not that kind of person. I'm not out there talking about myself, right?
I understand.
So at some point in end of March 2022, I believe it was, Taylor put up a post on Twitter saying that he didn't believe he could find somebody, but he's been pushed to ask anyways. And he was looking for somebody who knew servers, who knew PHP, who loved software development, and was very keen on customer success.
Every check is done for you.
And I was like, yeah, man, we're sitting here in the back of the class, like the donkey in Shrek jumping up and down. I was like, we're here, we're here.
Yeah, I'm here. Me.
Exactly. And so we started a lengthy exchange of emails. He's in the US, I'm in Europe, so my replies to his emails come back into his inbox like the next day and blah, blah.
Mm,
So we took about a week and a half of exchanging 6 or 7 emails.
wow.
And I said to him at one point, I said, look, let's cut the crap. Let's just jump on a video call and let's discuss matters. I'm getting sick of this process.
Obviously, waiting for the email next day.
Exactly. So we jumped on a video call and that was it.
Uh,
I joined 18th of April 2022, which
wow.
was Easter Monday,
Mhm.
officially a day off. So it was kind of light on the first day, but in terms of tech support and help desk situations, but I picked up tickets immediately because, knowing the product, it wasn't
Yeah,
that difficult.
yeah.
I had gotten access to the tool that they used, and I read through some of the older replies and stuff like that. So I was feeling, good about it.
Mhm.
And within a week or two, um, I was pretty much able to handle 95% of the tickets on my own.
Wow.
Um, there was one particular situation that I couldn't understand at first at all, and it took James maybe 3 times of explaining how it works before I understood. There's 2 levels of Git connections in Laravel Forge.
Okay.
One is for the Git API, which is where you need the token.
Right,
And one
right.
is your SSH access to Git, which is a whole different beast, which is for checking out, and cloning
Cloning
repositories.
repository. Yeah, I understand.
And that difference was difficult to
What
get in my
crazy.
brain.
Okay.
So James took a few
Mm.
rounds to explain that to me, and I finally grasped it.
Superb.
And from then on, it was actually easy going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, until at some point, Christmas last year, I think it was,
Yeah.
where I said to Taylor, "Look, man, this is not possible anymore. I get so many tickets. I have to log in on Saturday and Sunday just to keep the numbers down
Mm.
because days that I didn't log in over the weekend, you come in to work on Monday morning, you have 50 tickets waiting for you, and you
Oh.
know it's Monday, so there is going another rush of tickets.
Right, right.
And so by the time you worked off these 50 tickets from the weekend, it's already lunchtime on Monday, and you already have 60 new tickets waiting in the queue.
Mm.
So the Monday was very busy. I won't say stressful, but it was very busy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I said to Taylor, look, I need help here, man. I can't do this on my own anymore.
Yeah.
And when I said that to him, maybe 10 minutes later, I was like, yeah, actually, I'm not sure if that is the right thing to say because I know myself and I know that I don't really work well with other people, especially if I see that they don't know what they're talking about.
Okay.
And and so I was like
Good.
worried that Taylor would have maybe the wrong person or something, or that he would find somebody that wouldn't be, that I wouldn't mesh with so nicely.
Mm.
And he basically took 2 weeks, and then he came back to me and said, "Look, we're rehiring Mohammed Said."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay,
Back.
that's brilliant. No problem with that," because the few times that I had a customer support question for myself before I joined, Mohammed always responded,
Hmm.
and he knows what he's talking about. There's
Exactly.
absolutely no doubt in my mind that he knows the product because he wrote part of it,
Exactly.
And so I was happy that that Taylor came back with that message because I was so anxious that he came up with the wrong person. I nearly wanted to tell him, look, forget about it.
I just have one question with this. Like, have you ever got any support query where you got really frustrated and not talking about the git and git, like you know things, but customer are not willing to understand what you are saying, and one moment or one incident where you just laughed by seeing the ticket. So, is there any moment like that?
Oh, definitely. There's very many moments where customers don't want to answer your questions, where they are so frustrated that they cannot see the wood for the trees.
Hmm.
The way I deal with that is by forgetting and not going into any of these emotional outbursts, but simply saying, look, I need answers to these questions.
Right.
The longer you don't answer my questions, the longer we keep dragging this on. Let's just
Hmm.
focus on the answers. And I need to see evidence, because sometimes you have like a list of 7 or 8 things that you want them to verify, and
Mhm.
they just say, yes, that's all verified. It's all good. And it still doesn't work. So
Mhm.
something must be wrong, right?
Exactly.
And then they insist that they verified everything. And you go, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to verify it. So you need to show me evidence, screenshots.
Correct.
Then it
Everything.
turns out that point 3 is actually incorrectly set up.
Hmm. So what kind of support generally we get in Forge type of application? Is it server related, configuration related, website related? What that?
Website related, not so much,
Mhm.
because that's kind of out of scope
Okay.
for Forge support as it
Uh-huh.
was. Server related, configuration related, absolutely. People meddling with the Nginx configuration, getting it wrong, not understanding how to set up redirects in Laravel Forge, what they actually mean
Hmm.
inside the Nginx configuration. Lots of problems with Let's Encrypt interaction,
Hmm. Correct.
um, in that, Let's Encrypt sometimes gives an error back and people don't understand what the error means, or the error is so much text that they can't see.
They don't want to read.
Yeah, exactly. And so you kind of have to then, say, okay, you need to check X, Y, Z. And yeah, sometimes people get frustrated because they've been trying for a
Hmm.
week to get a ticket or to get a SSL certificate, and they're not succeeding.
Hmm.
And then you go,
Right.
yeah, you should have contacted us the first time it went
First,
wrong.
yeah, obviously.
But people are people, right? And sometimes people just feel that they know their
Hmm.
stuff and they will keep trying
Right. So,
until they really hit the wall.
so since you have done so much great support for Forge kind of tool, any advice you want to give to the support people of any company or who are listening, if they have any support team or they are from the support team, what advice you want to give to them so that they can uh, easily complete their work and not get frustrated?
I think that's a twofold kind of answer from my end.
Just
First of
anything
all,
comes in your mind.
you have to be happy in your role. You have to
Mm.
want to help people.
Right.
If wanting to help people is not your first thing, don't go into technical support or customer support.
Hmm.
Because over the 2 years and a half that I did this role, yeah, there are times when it's much and much of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
always get questions about Nginx, you get questions about SSL certificates, you get questions about why is my upgrade failed or why is my database crashed. It's kind of always the same, with a little bit of a difference in each case, but it's
Yeah.
it's repetitive kind of work. So you really have to love what you do
Mm.
to help people. And if that's not what you're in for, then don't begin with it.
Correct.
That's the first thing. And the second thing really for me is, you see in a lot of tech support forums that you always have to be friendly, give a message that you level with the customer, that you understand that they're frustrated, this, that, and the other. To me, that's crap.
Oh,
Because saying to a frustrated person that you understand that he or she is frustrated isn't going to help that person. You
exactly.
know, by the time they come to tech support, their back is up against the wall. Something is not working. They cannot understand why it is not working.
Yeah,
The
that's
only
why.
thing they want is to get it to work.
Yeah,
These are
exactly.
developers. These are not salespeople. These are not
Mm.
marketing people. These are developers.
Correct.
Generally speaking, and this is a generalization, but generally speaking, developers don't care about social crap.
True.
They just they
True.
just want to develop and they just want their shit to work.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's my approach that I took at Laravel support. Just cut the crap and just fix their problem. That's
Yep.
it. Tell them how it is fixed, why it works the way it works, and off you go.
I think the first one you said was really really correct, and it's not just in the tech, it's in any kind of role where if you don't love the work you're doing, you will not be able to finish it 100% or can give your 100%. It's just a normal phenomena. You need to love your work you're doing. Otherwise, find the thing what you love and build a career over it.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
to excel anything, you need to put heart and soul. You need to put hours and hours, and you can only do one thing for 10 hours without hurt. Or maybe if you're even hurting, your back is hurting, your legs are paining, even after that, if you're doing something, that's the moment you can realize that, okay, this is the thing I really want to do, and I want to build a career over it. And I believe if you can do this in tech, it's all about sitting job. So if you can able to sit, good. You can welcome to the tech industry. so that's a phenomena I generally follow. And for second one, yeah, support is all about solving problem. It's not about, yeah, I understand. No, it's not about that. This is the solution, just go and try. Okay, so Forge is so amazing. I believe it's 10 year Taylor had done this incredible work on the tool like this, which have never existed before. How many customers, or I can say paying customer, did Forge have, if you are allowed to share that? Because I read somewhere it's 22,000 plus, and that tweet was 2 or 3 years back. So I just want to know exact number, or maybe just a estimated number.
Well, the estimated number would be close to 30,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
30,000 paying customer.
Yeah.
It's not registered. It's not just the people who just try it. It's full paying customer. That's the power of product, I can say.
I think it's the power of Taylor, right? I
Ah,
mean,
yeah, obviously.
to an extent, right? I mean, I gotta salute the man. He has an incredible eye for ease of programming, an incredible eye for quality of software, and he is incredibly driven to just give that to the community.
Exactly.
And then he creates this team of people around him, like Nuno, Dries, James, Joe, all the good guys at Laravel who just
Correct.
know their shit and who just are ready to work 10, 12 hours a day because it is hobby to them. It is what they love doing.
Exactly.
And, without that drive for high quality,
Hmm.
Taylor would have never gotten to where he is right now. So
Yeah.
I really have to salute to the man. I mean, he is the
Right.
driving force behind the whole Laravel ecosystem,
Correct.
anything and everything that happens in there.
Last podcast I did with Nuno, and Nuno was saying the similar thing, and he was saying Taylor never tell anyone what he need to do daily basis. He just say like I want this, and just do it, and people will use their brain, their knowledge, skill, and build it for Taylor, and Taylor never interfere with in the task they are doing and how they are doing, because he know he has hired some of the greatest mind in our industry. And Taylor is, I believe, he is blessed. He is I can say we are blessed to have Taylor. And Taylor is not a human, I can say. To be so great in programming, in management, being a, being a so great influencer, being so amazing in not just in coding, also in servers and the ops operation. I, what are the things I am missing? A lot of things. He is so great in every different part of this running a great framework and ecosystem behind this is he is coming from Mars maybe, or maybe from Jupiter.
Well, don't forget, right, that he is also insanely human.
Exactly. So polite,
Even if you say
down to
he's from
earth.
Mars or from Jupiter, he is insanely human, a very calm and collected person, friendly, polite. Um,
I
and
met.
if you
Yeah,
follow Abigail on Twitter, you can see Taylor cleaning up the house here and there because he likes it.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And you can say all of the credits in terms of technology, and he must be an absolute, single-minded kind of person. He is not. Interestingly enough, he is not.
I met him many times here in Laracon US. Every time I met him, I get fresh energy, and he just inspired by his presence. He's so inspiring person, and obviously he's really humble and down to earth. So great to see always him. Great. So let's move Gus from this Forge thing. So I just want to know. You said you work as freelancer to this Forge support.
Mhm.
Okay. Can you just share me what was your hourly rate if you were hourly rate if you worked hourly, or what was your salary if you can share? Obviously, I'm not forcing you.
I can share. I don't mind, because it's in the past, so it doesn't matter anymore.
I'm not in the game right now.
Exactly. Laravel LLC used to pay me $7,000 a month,
Wow,
which
seven
is a
thousand dollar a
very good
month.
salary for the work that you do, in my opinion, anyways. And it inspired me to, even if IT and helping people is kind of my hobby, that 7K still inspired me to work even longer hours and even harder. You know,
Exactly.
things like when you get your first question about some rate limiter from Let's Encrypt, you don't know what it is, you don't know how it works. Because of that monetary compensation and because of my love for IT, I looked it up. I created an account for myself on Let's Encrypt and I tested it and I played with it. Same with Cloudflare integration. You
Hmm.
sometimes have a customer that says, "Oh, my SSL certificates do not work because I have Cloudflare such and such,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's load balancing the incoming requests."
Hmm.
So when I say to Forge, I need an SSL certificate, it doesn't work. Can you
Hmm.
help? I don't know the first thing about Cloudflare. It's not my tool, right? So I don't need
Exactly.
to know. But because the customers needed to know,
Hmm.
of course, I create
Great.
an account at
Hmm.
Cloudflare. I set up a few servers and I play with it until I understand how it actually is supposed to work.
Great.
so that I can give the customers a first-hand experience answer
Yeah,
out out of knowledge rather
exactly.
than guessing.
Exactly. I think any job where your daily job is to learn new things and then work is not a job. It's kind of kind of like you are getting paid to learn, to enhance your skill, to enhance your knowledge. You are getting paid. It's not a job.
No,
it's
it's not.
it's a
It's
great learning experience where you are getting paid and not just a normal. You're getting $7,000 crazy amount for learning and helping others. What else you need in your life? So
exactly.
great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
and as Krishna says, right, knowledge is key to being a free man.
I'm loving it. Thank you very much. This is
I had
really, really
everything
nice.
in that role, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I always follow the word from the Gita, which is like, karm is puja, Hindi meaning. Your work is worship.
Yeah,
So I follow that. So if you are working and if you are putting your heart and soul, you are worshiping. So
yeah.
yeah, that's great. We are matching wavelength.
Oh, absolutely.
Super. Okay, so moving to the last section of our podcast, which is understanding cloud and the cloud providers we have. So I just want to know from your point of view what exactly the cloud is, because this podcast will reach to many people, some with having high knowledge, some who are just starting. Can you just explain what is cloud to very beginner who just know that servers are the thing where you put your code and it runs?
Well, when servers are the things where your code is running, then cloud is basically somebody else owning that server and you having access to it to run your code. And that's basically it.
So why it is called cloud?
I don't know, because it's up in the air. It is somewhere up in the air.
I heard somewhere like IT industry is so crazy. They said your server is in the cloud, but there is no cloud. You said there is a server less technology, but there is a server. So kind of so crazy things we have in IT.
I think it comes from when you see network diagrams.
Yeah. Okay.
You generally have like a gridded globe to
Mm-hmm.
represent the
The internet.
internet.
Yeah. Exactly.
There is always some kind of a cloud symbol through which
Mm.
that thing connects
That
to your
good.
server. That is the cloud.
That is the cloud.
That's the cloud that we're talking about.
Okay, so now we have the cloud. That means the servers are owned by someone else or taken care by someone else. We just use the server through their API or whatever they provide, and we put our code and make our website live. Now, we have cloud providers like AWS, Azure, GCP. On the other hand, we have DigitalOcean, Linode, Hetzner. Are they same, or what is the basic difference between these two? If I am a normal person or freelancer or mid-sized company with 4 or 10 people, not having so crazy website, which one should I pick? AWS, Azure, GCP kind of thing, or DigitalOcean, Linode, or Hetzner kind of thing?
I can't speak for GCP. I can speak for AWS and Azure, and I
Okay.
find that their billing is very erratic.
Oh, really?
It's not standardized really as much because with AWS, for example, you end up paying for a particular portion of a server and a particular portion of network
Mm-hmm.
as your standard fee. But if you go over that,
Hmm.
your fee incredibly increases, like
Crazy.
without any upper limit.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you've seen the tweets yourself where people say, I
Yeah.
got an $86,000 bill from AWS or a $6 million bill simply because my website hit a peak.
I
And that to me is brings in uncertainty in your infrastructure, and it should be removed. Azure, when you open up a virtual machine in the Azure stack, you need to have a connector, you need to have some kind of Entra ID connection, you need to have two or three things extra that all cost, and all of a sudden your one virtual desktop is costing you 70 euros or
Oh,
$60 a
okay.
month. A virtual machine.
Wow.
Like
That's
seriously, it's a lot of
huh?
money.
Yeah, exactly.
So I come from a background of hosting my own stuff
Mm-hmm.
back in the mid 2000s,
Oh, great.
on my home computer, and then moving everything to Rackspace,
Mm-hmm.
because Rackspace, they were back then, they were the guys with the fanatical support. And you could ask a question, and it was almost guaranteed that you had an answer and a solution within 30 to 40 minutes.
Wow.
And their environment was based on virtual machines, VMware type stuff. These days it's all OpenShift, but it basically
Mm-hmm.
comes
Mm-hmm.
from Rackspace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they started to become more and more expensive. And I was like, yeah, no, I need to start looking for something else that I can use to reduce my cost. And I discovered DigitalOcean.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, they had a starter server for $6. So 1 gig, one virtual CPU,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe 10 gigabyte worth of disk space, more than enough to run a few websites,
Exactly.
more than enough. And that became my thing. So I moved everything over to DigitalOcean. And these days they have an even smaller server. They have a 512 megabyte server with
Yeah.
one CPU and
Exactly.
10 gig of
Mm-hmm.
disk space for
Mm-hmm.
$5. That's low cost machines. That's exactly what you need. And I've never seen anything like network pricing,
Yeah.
making my invoice out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very stable priced product, and it's very handy to use. Their API
Okay.
is great. The integration with Forge is fantastic. And since I was a
Yeah.
Forge user, I was like, oh yeah, this is easy. Click, deploy, done.
Done.
Or
Right.
click, create a new server of $6 a month, whatever.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
So,
to me, that was absolutely a godsend. Now Hetzner is similar. Um, Linode, Akamai is similar.
yeah.
And Vulture is similar as well. The only difference between them really is that their footprint is different. Their
Hmm.
geographical footprint is different. The
Right.
rest doesn't really make that much of a difference. Now, Hetzner has currently, I believe, the ability to create a span network between Finland and Germany. They're
Uh-huh.
looking at making that a span network across the ocean to the
What
US.
was that span network mean?
That you can have like a virtual network that covers multiple data centers in different regions.
Oh, they can
So you can have,
connect virtually.
yeah, exactly,
Uh-huh.
but sitting on one basic subnet,
Mm-hmm.
virtual subnet. But that basically means that you can have a central database server somewhere in the US, and you can have your web servers in Germany, for example, for
Oh,
geolocation. They
yeah.
can still talk on their private network. They can still talk to the database in the US.
Nice.
Whereas with other providers like DigitalOcean, if you have a similar scenario, you're almost forced to make the database connection over the public network,
Hmm.
which you then need to encrypt and all sorts of management
Yeah,
difficulties
yeah.
pop. With
Security
Hetzner,
difficulties.
you don't have that.
Hmm. Okay.
And that's, for me, that's the one big advantage of Hetzner. Akamai Linode has a huge footprint. They're everywhere in the US. They're
Hmm.
pretty much everywhere in all territories in the world.
Right.
Vultr is also very
Uh-huh.
well for the big footprint. So yeah.
Great. Okay, so we understand cloud, we understand the normal server providers like DigitalOcean, Linode, Hetzner. Then comes a category called shared hosting. The GoDaddy, was that next one was hosting. So what's your view about? Yeah, I know you had some crazy experience with hosting. So, what's your view about this shared hosting thing? When should people use it, or do they really need this kind of things or not?
Well, if you have a small website and you have a limited budget, and you don't want to be spending a lot of time in managing your environment, shared hosting is beneficial, all right? But you need to be you need to be shopping around for your hosts and what it can provide and what it cannot provide, especially if you want to use tools like Forge and Envoyer. Because sometimes you have like a hosting provider with a shared host that uses cPanel
Hmm.
that will kind of force you down a particular path that Forge isn't ready for. And it's very difficult to convince the server to behave differently. Because it
Exactly.
is a shared server, you don't have full root
Full,
rights to
yeah,
begin
full
with.
control.
So you can't, for example, in some instances, you cannot install new PHP versions
100%. Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
or use a different web server for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Hostinger in particular, and there's a few that use the same um, backend engine, I believe. Hostinger in particular has a very nasty habit of hiding their delete server or destroy server commands. They have an interface where you can create a server easily for a few bucks a month.
But you can't delete
You
it
can
easily.
you can kill that server, but in order to unsubscribe to that server, you have to go to a page hidden behind a page hidden behind your profile. Seriously. To me, that is just nasty.
If you can't find it, you can't delete it.
Yeah, exactly. You think your server is stopped. It says on the home page that the server is stopped. It has a button to renew your subscription, and it's like grayed out, so you don't want to renew. So all the indications are that it's finished. And then you still get a new bill on the first of the next month to say, oh, you got to pay $4 for your hosting pro services. I'm like, I killed the server. It's
What's
not
this?
live anymore. Why do I need to pay?
Okay, so now we have touched every category of server thing. What will be the decision making criteria to use shared hosting, DigitalOcean Linode thing, AWS thing? So how I know that I need to use one of them?
There's a fourth player in the market right now. We'll come back to that. We'll speak
Okay,
upon that.
sure.
Um, so shared hosting, I'd say really small websites if the price is right from the hosting provider.
How can we define a small website?
Maybe 100 users
Okay.
in total, maybe 1 to 2 users
Okay.
concurrently using the website,
Hmm.
because you cannot determine how badly the server is used by other services from other customers that run on the same server.
Correct.
So you cannot really determine how much compute power you have, how much bandwidth you have, et cetera, et cetera. So you
Understood.
don't want to have like 10 concurrent people trying to look at your website,
Hmm.
getting timeouts back from the server. So the moment that happens, you kind of want to move away from shared hosting into your own hosting environment.
Uh-huh.
Again, through Forge, that's really simple.
Yeah.
Because you can set up a server, you can install your repository, and you're good to go almost, installing your .env file, making sure you have a database and stuff like that, and you're ready to go.
Nice, nice.
If you then move on to the next bigger thing, you want to look at being able to load balance your web servers. You want to be able to load balance your worker servers, that kind of stuff. You can do that on DigitalOcean and so
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
But through Forge, there is not really much help of managing that kind of environment because Forge sees the servers as their own entities.
Mm-hmm.
Envoyer helps, and what they're doing with Forge in terms of integrating Envoyer helps a little bit in managing the code, but the servers are still individual servers.
Right.
Forge has no knowledge that these 5 servers are the backbone of your load balanced web server environment.
Correct.
You come into AWS and their Elastic Beanstalk situation where you have the possibility to define rules based upon which Elastic Beanstalk will create another instance.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, for example, if my CPU on average is used for 80% for more than 5 minutes, create a new instance. You have Cloud init abilities to tell it what to do when the server comes up the very first time. So you
Yeah.
can tell it to download your repository, install it here or there, and Bob's your uncle. And then the next big thing that comes along
Yeah.
is out of Laravel Holdings, Laravel Cloud,
Cloud.
where they provide a complete managed experience. you just get an interface where you define your repository, where you define the services that you need, and off you go. It manages your need for capacity, be that
Yep.
compute, disk, or memory capacity. The moment it understands that you're trying to reach a peak in your utilization, it will scale up as necessary
Wow.
to make sure that your web server is still running, and you don't have to do anything about it.
Cool.
You
Cool.
just sit there and deploy your new code versions, deploy, and it'll manage the rest for you.
Superb.
And that's even better than ELB
Yeah.
because you don't have to define rules. It just detects that it's necessary to put more bandwidth or compute power into your environment, and it'll do it.
So what I got from your explanation is when you have very few users or maybe kind of backend or admin panel thing where very few concurrent users will be there, just put it on shared hosting and don't worry about it. But if you have more than that, maybe 10 plus users concurrently using, and then you can use the DigitalOcean Linode kind of things. But when you want load balancer, when you want more insight about your server and having more than maybe let's say 100 plus concurrent user, then you should consider the AWS Azure kind of things. And these are just generalized purpose. When Laravel Cloud will going to launch, you don't have to think about anything, just use Laravel Cloud.
That's basically it.
That's a basic. Okay. Okay, so last question of this. I know I have taken a lot of your time, but last question. I'm a developer and I'm talking in terms of a general person. I'm a developer. I used to love PHP, I love Node.js, Python, any language. But since AI is here, what should I need to do to upscale myself to be present in the in this industry and not being outdated, and to just flow go with the flow of where the industry is moving? So what I need to do, and this is the first question. Sorry, I asked one, but there is a second one. So one is for AI, second is how a person transition from developer to a DevOps person.
I'm going to be bald and I'm going to say you cannot transition from developer to DevOps.
Oh, 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 that's sad.
A developer has a very different mindset than an operational person.
Okay.
For a developer, and I've been there myself, right? For a developer, it's very easy to generate a migration, test it on the database with a few records, and it'll be grand. Push it out to production, and the whole thing falls apart because you don't recognize that your test environment doesn't have a table with 20 million records.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? The ops person will want to make sure that the migration works on that kind of a table before he pushes it out to production.
The level where developers stop thinking, ops people start thinking from that point.
Very much so. Outage awareness is not always given for a developer. For a DevOps person or for an ops person, that is one of the most important criteria.
Okay.
And I come from a long end of technical coordination from 10 years ago for production systems, where the one thing you always do is you have a run book with every step that you fine tune every time you put something new into production, a new version, an upgraded database. You go through the run book, you make sure it's updated afterwards. You put the lessons learned from the last deployment in there so that the next time it works even better. I mean, we did at Hutchison Networks, we did rollout of their main call rating database and application, serving, I don't know, 50 million customers worldwide.
Wow.
And their run book is 20 pages long. And it specifically says this person needs to do that at that time. That person needs to do X at that time. And if this step fails, you go down to step 50 to roll it back and stuff like that, like very detailed.
Wow.
just to make sure that the upgrade as such has a chance of succeeding. And the more complex your application becomes, the more important that kind of stuff becomes as well.
Mm.
Deaf people don't always see what might cause problems on the server level.
Yes, exactly.
Like, for example, we've had floods in Forge on the Forge servers where specific SSH jobs were not terminating properly.
Okay.
And the developers were panicking because they couldn't find the reason. And I'm like, can you show me a job list of what's running on the server? And there's like a million zombie processes. And I'm like, yeah, kill those because they're eating CPU. Ah, but there's
Yeah.
zombie processes. Yeah, but they're still processes. So they
Mm.
still participate in the scheduling of the processor to
Yeah.
give them time. Even if they don't do anything, they still get a time slot.
Mm.
And that's just not really something that a developer thinks about because to him, it's like, oh, my SSH call in PHP is finished, therefore the process must be gone.
Yep.
And not always.
I think bad news for developers. You should not focus on transitioning, but even if you really want to transition, then you need to shift your mindset from just making things working to how things are working and how things are scaling basically. Great. And yeah, what's your quick answer about how as a developer I can catch up with the changes in the industry because of the AI?
That's a more difficult question because we're just on the very start of
Yeah,
AI.
it's just beginning.
Um, what I see in PHP Storm, for example, is that their AI integrated bot is absolutely helping with writing your code. Now, my neighbor, incidentally, I spoke to him about this. He basically says that's an easy thing to do. But when you see in PHP Storm that you have a particular line of code and you start writing the next line of code,
It just suggests.
PHP Storm can already predict what you're going to write. To me,
Right.
that's amazing. To him, he basically said to me, well, but that's statistical analysis of your code pattern, right? So that's
Oh.
not a big, any machine can do that. That's not AI. That's just statistical analysis because it has seen this in a different class, so it kind of knows what pattern of code writing you follow,
Hmm.
so it predicts that. Um, there are things that the industry is working on in terms of AI factory, in terms of installing machines, like physical machines at customers, where you're going to see that, for example, if you order a new laptop at Lenovo or HP or Dell for that matter, you can start customizing almost every aspect of that machine.
Hmm.
Whereas in the past, you could customize maybe a CPU, the amount of memory,
Yeah,
and your graphics card.
that's it.
But because of AI and because of the big data lakes that are powering AI,
Mm-hmm.
we're starting to see that you can almost customize every aspect of machines that you generate because the stuff that needs to go on before your supply chain management uses the same data lake.
Hmm.
So it
Right.
knows what components are necessary to be
Hmm.
reordered, and your manufacturing process knows what components are available to
Correct.
use to build a machine.
Hmm.
So you can really start automating a lot of that machine building.
Right.
When I look at my first experience at EMC back in the day, now Dell Technologies, back in Cork, where they generated DMX storage arrays, they had a huge 2 or 3 hangar big hall. 2/3 of it was filled with Dell servers. And there were stations along one of the walls. There were like 18 stations
Mm-hmm.
where 2 or 3 people managed every station. One was to put disks in a server, another one was to put the server
Oh.
into a chassis. Then you had a testing station. Then you had an electrical testing station where all the components were tested. That's mostly gone. It's mostly automated these days. So there's
Hmm.
like maybe 2 or 3 people working that floor space now.
Right. Okay.
And
Nice.
if you look at how they built PCs back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
they Limeric's manufacturing plant number one at Dell Technologies in the end of the 1990s
Mm-hmm.
was a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
3 shifts of people, screwing memory slots into PCs and screwing network cards into the back of PCs and stuff like that.
Correct.
When you look at the workforce that's working in Poland's manufacturing plant these days, it's nowhere near
Automated.
that amount of.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The global command center at Dell Technologies used to have 50 people on shift every minute of the day. There's
Wow.
two. There's two now. When you walk into the command center in Limerick, it's empty. Simply because they are so good at their technology, they can predict when your mouse is going broke. They
Oh,
can predict when you need a new keyboard.
wow.
They can see based on AI and based on the feedback from these machines, they can see when stuff needs to be replaced. And the replacement process is automatic. Back in the day, you as a customer had to call,
Mm-hmm.
my mouse
Mm-hmm.
isn't working, I need a replacement, right? Now the laptop sends a command back to Dell Technologies saying the mouse connection doesn't work. Let's
Replace
create
it.
it for somebody to go and bring that person a new mouse or a new bit of memory or a new disk. So
Wow. Is
the
this
command center person that handled that ticket in the past is not
is this
necessary anymore.
happening? This
It's
kind of
happening.
laptops are there?
It's happening. Absolutely.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
This kind of laptop with Microsoft's Copilot integration is
Ah,
absolutely able to tell and predict when stuff is going, stops working.
wow.
And they can
So,
do preventative maintenance
so
on these laptops.
with these kind of advancement, and you say like previously people were doing things, now everything is automated. How, as a techie, I see the future, where I find myself, because if everything is automated, what humans will going to do? Eating pizza?
Well, hopefully. Or Indian food. Let's focus
Oh,
on Indian food.
that's you just said said something which give me excitement. Like I need to eat.
Back,
So
back in the day, right, 1860s, when slavery was coming to an end, people were saying, who's going to look after our grannies? Who's going to pluck our fruits?
yes,
Who's going to, manage our meat manufacturing? And all these jobs were automated.
right.
Grandmother is looked after. Your fruit is being picked.
Hmm.
Stuff like that. Nowadays, you see a lot of automation happening in ports
Hmm. Yeah.
for
Exactly.
container ships. When you look in Chinese ports and Singaporean ports, you almost see no people on the work floor. The
Hmm.
cranes are automated. The trucks that bring the containers to the actual trucks are automated. On the quay side, near the water, there's almost nobody walking around anymore.
Wow.
There's a big discussion in the US happening whether they should automate their ports. On the East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
most of the ports are being automated. On the South and West Coast, people are striking against automation.
Oh.
When you look at efficiency numbers, the ports on the East Coast are more efficient than ports on the West Coast. They still kill 17 people every year from accidents in a manually operated port.
That's bad.
Now, what are these people going to do when their job is gone? Like with the industrial revolution, like with the data revolution that we have right now, the market will generate new
New
jobs.
jobs. Right. Exactly. The new jobs will arise. So, if we see that AI is changing the world and new jobs will arise, as we are only seeing the jobs are dying, but we are not able to clearly see which jobs are rising, we need to prepare ourselves to not get afraid of the AI, but instead we should embrace the AI and try to use it in whatever possible way we can, because nobody know what's going to happen and what kind of jobs will arise in the future. So just be ready to to get something crazy. And I believe if you get ready right now, or if you at least get started or get your hands dirty in the AI field, you will definitely going to get something crazy in the coming future, because demand is really really high and very few people are there who actually understand or maybe just using the AI. So demand is high, supply is low, and whoever is ready will get really great job. So
Yeah,
that's what I
absolutely. I
see.
think, if you're interested in that kind of thing, getting accreditation in data management is
Okay.
going to be a big thing in the future,
Mm-hmm.
because the processing of data is not necessarily that important anymore.
Ah,
However, the way data is going to be structured
yeah,
becomes more and more important.
exactly.
For AI to be efficient, you
Mm.
not only need to have clean data, but the clean data also needs to be readily accessible for computers.
And right.
So that's going to
Yeah.
be a big role. And
Even
then
to even to train a AI model or fine tuning a AI model, you can't just use a normal data and feed it to the AI. You need a proper structured data, which AI even can get and get trained over it.
it doesn't necessarily need to be structured and such,
Okay.
but access to that data needs to be efficient.
Efficient. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
when you look at data lakes, you're not,
Mhm.
the order of magnitude of 10 million records in a table is minuscule in terms of a data lake, right?
Exactly.
When you're talking about data lakes, you're talking about, for example, in a professional services environment where you're running across the globe, maybe the best part of 5,000 projects at any one time. You're gathering all that information in terms of work hours that are spent in that project by technicians. You want to refine how you sell your product to make sure
Mhm.
that you capture enough revenue to pay for those technicians. You want your computer, your AI, to be able to access that our data, that work related data, efficiently.
Exactly.
If it cannot do that, and if it needs a daily export, by the time it analyzes that export, the data is outdated.
Outdated. Yeah, yeah.
That is that's not working for AI, right?
100%. Right, right.
And that's what becomes very important, that that data is readily and efficiently accessible.
Hmm. Correct.
And you must never forget that when times are hard, and as an individual, you see the end of your savings account coming into view, you need to be ready to just change,
Exactly.
throw away your current career and focus on something else where you have a job readily available. It may
Hmm.
not be a job that you want to do,
Yeah,
but if it bridges the gap,
that's what matter. Yeah.
open your mind and go for it. I
Hmm.
mean, like 2003, I was living in Belgium, and at that time, the dot-com boom bust basically came to Belgium, and I lost my job in IT. And I sat at home for 2 months, and I saw the end of my savings account coming rapidly into view.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, I got to do something. So
exactly.
I ended up working in a restaurant as a chef
Wow.
for 8 months. And then at one point, some recruiter from the Netherlands called and said, ING needs your help with installing, storage arrays in their data center. I was like, yeah, I'm available from the 1st of January, let's go. But you have to be able to just jump,
Yes.
throw away whatever you want to do
Hmm.
something that keeps your head above the water
Exactly.
until that moment comes back where Krishna will provide for you and give you the job that you want.
Yeah,
Right? Or
exactly.
whatever your deity is, right? It doesn't matter whether it's Krishna,
Right.
God, Allah.
Whoever you believe.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, from that point of view, you have to be ready to just let go of what you want to do and get ready to do what is necessary to keep yourself alive.
Correct. That's so true. First, you need to survive, and then you need to focus on your growth. But if you don't have any survival plan and you're just thinking about the growth, it's like baseless. You don't have the base. Great. So that's coming to the end of this Laravel India podcast, Gus. I'm really happy, and I got more than expected. You're so great, so talented, so amazing storyteller. I must say you have a great way of explaining things or telling the story. I'm really happy that I invited you and you accepted my invitation for this podcast. Really excited to see you in person and at Laracon India 2025.
Definitely. Let's see each other in
Great.
another.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. So just for the people who really want to connect with you, if they have any question, any doubt, where they can reach out to you.
They can reach out to me on Twitter, X, PHP Gus. Anybody can find me there very easily. So
Yeah, where I find you.
yes, exactly.
Superb. Thank you, guys. Thank you for this podcast. Really happy.
Thank you for the invitation, Sarthak. I really enjoyed it.